when you're first starting, you're going to see one patient, and then you're going to see another patient in 45 minutes from now, or maybe the next day. But you need to treat every visit as if your reception area is full,
right,
because one day it's going to be full.
Well, hello, everybody. Dr. Ron Oberstein, president of Life Chiropractic College West, and welcome to another one of our Life West Leadership Lines. I've got a very dear friend and a great chiropractor, kind of like a silent giant that you're going to hear about today and hear from today. I want to welcome to our show Dr. Peter Klein from the great state of Washington, Lacey, Washington. Pete, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, thanks a lot, Dr. Ron. Any opportunity I have to see in person or talk, I'm going to take it.
Well, listen, they're going to get to know you. I'll tell you that. And I'll just let you know a little bit about Pete. Peter comes from the great state of Michigan. We both were from Michigan. He was a basketball player, I believe, at Hope College. Was it right?
Hope College for a minute till I tore my ankle up. So I wasn't there.
Well, didn't have an illustrious career.
I was there for my education, but my athletic career was pretty short.
Well, but you got 6'6" or 6'7", whatever you are, but just beautiful. He left Palmer, went to Palmer, graduated in 85, and yes, went to Washington State, worked for a really wonderful chiropractor who just transitioned this past year, Pat Van Quatham. And then yes, after a couple of years there, he just went to Lacey, and he's been in his practice there for, since then, since like 88, whatever it is. So 35 years.
35,
yeah. And just, I could say this, Pete, just killing it. I mean, just doing phenomenal stuff. And we're going to get into that. One of the things that's interesting about Peter that I've always admired about you is, you could just visualize something and it just kind of makes it happen, and pulls I know you don't never put anything, back in the day, you probably didn't even have a freaking yellow page ad. But, and most people might not even know what a yellow page ad is. If you do, you're showing your age, but, and just continually just drawing in, 40, 50, 60 patients a month. And, it's got a dynamic practice. And, let's jump into it, man. I want you to share some of the things that have happened with you and in your life and in your practice, your life as a chiropractor. I think the first question is, how'd you get into chiropractic? Like, I've never even asked you that.
Well, I want to respond to that last thing about visualizing that. Like, I didn't make that up. You're the one who kind of taught me that. I mean, I always knew the athletes visualized beforehand. Like Isaiah Thomas says, they always played the game before the game ever happened. And so he went in knowing he already won because he'd already played it. So you're the one who taught me that.
Yeah, but I couldn't do it as well as you, man. So, so the coach, taught the player, but I certainly couldn't shoot the ball like you. But go on. How'd you get into chiropractic?
So like I grew up in, like you said, Michigan on the Great Lakes. Coast Guard had a huge presence, because those are some serious bodies of water. So they're doing good work out there all the time. And that was my thing. I wanted to go to the Coast Guard Academy. I wanted to do all that. And then my parents, who I'll just mention this because this was a long time ago when chiropractic was maybe not as prominent as it is now. My dad's a PhD chemist, and my mom has her master's in microbiology. And these two intelligent, extremely intelligent people took me to the chiropractor at a young age. I was probably 12. Initially, I think it was like sports injury based stuff. And so I went to the chiropractor and just intermittently here and there. And one day, as young boys will do, I ran around the office and I was in this back room and I saw these two citations that each one had a silver star on it. And I go, I wonder what those are. And I start reading them. And they're what you probably think they are. They were silver star citations from Vietnam. And I read the citations. I'm going like, holy crap, my chiropractor is a badass.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And he was. I mean, I really just liked the guy. And I saw that and I just said, like, man, this is me. I want to do this.
From the age of 12.
Yeah, from the age of 12.
Wow.
And from that point on, since I knew it, I just did everything like as quick as I could, man. I just took all the stuff I needed to take and then bang through. So I was out at 24.
Yeah.
I think was the age I was out.
Peter, I think our viewers need to know this. Those who have been around for 30 years or more probably do, but those that haven't, back in, however old you were, at 12 years old, I don't know what year that was, but it was probably somewhere in the what, 60s or late 60s, whatever. I'm not sure, mid 60s. The chiropractic was not vogue. I mean,
No.
It was like I went to the library and there was one book on chiropractic that was like this thin and just listed the schools and really didn't say much. I mean, No one really knew about chiropractic, and you getting inspired like that is incredible.
Yeah, and it was to my parents, for bringing me at a young age. And I guess studies show that the higher education people reach, the more likely they are to utilize chiropractic.
Yeah.
And so I always thought that was kind of cool because you can't get much more educated than my parents. And they brought me, I honestly wouldn't have known that there was a chiropractor in town or what a chiropractic is.
Yeah.
Because there was a few back then. And so that was a life-changing experience that happened over the course of a handful of years.
You tracked straight to Palmer, right?
My dad was a college professor, like I said, so I had the good fortune of being able to go to undergrad tuition free.
Yeah.
And then I went straight off to Palmer because that's what you did when you were from Michigan.
Yeah. Yeah.
You just went over to Palmer, got a great education, learned a lot about, all the historical stuff is there. And but the one thing that I will say, I didn't see there that I see now, specifically with my integration or interaction with so many Life West grads being out here on the West Coast, is the enthusiasm. Yeah. I got that after school. I got that because Pat Van Quatham, took me to see Sigafus, and he took me to see Reggie, and he took me to see all these guys. And that's where I just got that real enthusiasm where I see kids coming out of life, they already got it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had to get it like after school.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
It does. It does. It just depends where you go and like who, but I'll tell you something interesting around that. We bring a lot of great speakers in, and our students are kind of like, and I hear this and I understand it. They'll say like, well, you're bringing in people who are like seeing all these people and doing all these great things. What about the ones that are struggling? And I don't know how to tell them like, well, they couldn't afford to come, kind of thing. But it is real. And they want to see the reality that's there instead of just the shining lights, But the truth is that they're going to have to experience it. Mary and I have talked about this often about, what do you want to put in your mind? I don't want to plant in someone's mind that, this person sucked for, 25 years and ended up leaving chiropractic and came back and yada, yada. It's like, I'd rather put in their minds some good stuff, things that they're there that they can aspire to. Because once again, as it's all up here, it's got nothing to do, you got to be able to do it with your hands, right? We got to be able to produce the goods, but you got to have the mental mindset, and that's in anything in life, right?
Yeah, we got the education, we got the technique, we got the philosophy. My frat, which ironically was different than Hayden's, and at Palmer, it was like this. And so like I can't tell my buddies like Hayden's Adele. What? But what that kid did with that fraternity, man.
Oh, man.
Not only did he become learn how to be a great chiropractor at life, he got that leadership.
Yeah.
There. I mean, he took that frat and just blew it up there, and talk about some intelligent folks. We were a little bit kind of more of the Animal House that focus on philosophy, right? But he's got some geniuses in that frat over there.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, those guys are great, and our sorority is incredible too. And they're all service-based. They're all about the philosophy, but about service, about helping the college in any way possible. That's really what their reason for being is. Like whatever needs to be done, call on us. We are here, and to get that kind of a vibe. I remember Hayden came to me. He said to me, "Hey, Doc, can I use your conference room?" He goes, "We're getting so big." And he brought on, I think his first year of the presidency, I think he brought like I don't know, 18 pledges or something like that, and it was like, it's like, you love something, you got passion about it, you go after it. And that's the kind of guy. And for our viewers, Hayden Klein just graduated, I want to say 2 years ago, something like that, year and a half ago.
No, I think it's been more. He's been in Idaho now for, I think, 8-9 months. And he was here for probably a year or so. I think him and Katie both started as under the preceptor thing.
Yeah. And as far as graduation, they were in
very
that
quickly
walk.
Yeah, the graduation, and then and then Katie precepted for a while too. When they walked, it's like, God, I'm terrible at that. I don't know if you're getting that way too, but something could be 3 years ago or 10 years ago. But I would say on the order of probably 3 years ago.
We'll split it in half and say 2.5 years ago. He was like, but just, for our viewers to know that, Hayden came through school. I remember his first day there. Hayden is what? He's
6'5" and a big boy.
Pure muscle, like, ball. 265 pounds, ex-offensive line.
When he played, they made him stay over 300, and he hated it. And I kept telling him, I said, dude, football is paying your school. As soon as football's over, you're going to drop that weight. And football was over, and he got all about nutrition, and now he's down to I don't know, probably 250 of just 6'5". Looks like Jack Reacher, if you know that series.
He does. I know that.
He's just he's a big, solid dude. Gentle giant, though. Gentle giant.
Yeah, he does. And it's so cool. He met his wife at school, and just wonder. We'll get back to them. Wonderful people. So just so the viewers know, if we say Hayden, that's who we're talking about. Pete, talk to me about this. Like, talk to me about your practice. Because you got a very strong chiropractic practice, but it's not necessarily just a conventional kind of a deal, right? And when I say conventional, it's, you're subluxation based and you're adjusting. Everyone who walks out gets adjusted, and that's all you do. But you approach it differently, your education process and all that kind of stuff. It's not just textbook from the management kind of thing. Talk about that.
One of the funnest things about chiropractic, and the reason after 37 years I still enjoy the heck out of getting up and going and seeing a bunch of folks every day, is everybody is an individual. And so I've never been a guy, and I'm not saying this isn't right for some people, right, but I've never been a dude that says this is a package first day one, and then this is your package first day two, and watch this video and like do that. And I've talked to Hayden about this too. It's just like, I educate people nuggets at a time, every single visit. And you got to have that ear, right? Because you're looking for those little clues. Because you got somebody, I've always felt that if I've got somebody sitting in my reception area with a 5-day migraine, and I'm going to go put them in front of a video for 20 minutes and stuff like that, So I get in there, I'll tell them what chiropractic is, what I'm going to do today, and that's essentially it. This is your nervous system. I'm going to look for problems within the nervous system. We're going to find those problems. They're going to work on correcting those. So I'm going to check you today. And next visit, I'm going to show you where your problems are. Here are your x-rays. Let's get started. And then I adapt that treatment plan based on that person, rather than taking an 18-year-old and making them sign up to a year program, and taking an 80-year-old and making them sign up to a year program. And so I meet people where they're at. I hold their hand, and I just walk down this road. And it's some of the most like here's a quick example, and I'll shut up. It's like, we've all had that patient that came in. It's like, 15 years ago, I was splitting logs, and I had this thing go in my back, and I literally crawled into the house. My wife took me to the chiropractor, and one visit, I just walked out of there. So I just need you to pop me in that one spot. And you're sitting there going to yourself, going like, that was 15 years ago. That dude's probably got degenerative disc disease and all this stuff now, and he's expecting that one pop, and then he's going to be all better, right? So you gotta meet that person where he is, right? And just explain without getting too into it. That was a while ago. This thing could have gotten worse during that time, even though you're sub-threshold symptoms. So we're going to get some pictures.
Right.
And then we get some pictures and we see like, okay, this is going on. This isn't going to be a one visit thing, but we're going to get you going as quick as we can. And a lot of those people, they'll make the best patients you've ever had. But it's intimidating when they come and say like, just right here.
But they were never told, and the interesting thing is they were never told the story. They were never
right.
told, and never explained, what's going on. And most people, I believe, most people always make the right choices for themselves at that point in their life. But to make the right choices, they got to be given choices.
Right.
Right.
And a lot of those people like would say, like, gosh, I've never had x-rays before. And you're just like, well, how did the doc know exactly what was going on?
Yeah.
And so it's just that kind of stuff. But it's really just, and that's one of the things that Dr. Van Quatham taught me is it's just like every visit, you're giving them a nugget. Every visit, you're giving them a nugget and you're just walking them down that road. And you're not just like front loading all this education and then just like boom, 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 see you Wednesday. And the other thing Dr. Van Quatham taught me, which was really key, is when you're first starting, you're going to see one patient and then you're going to see another patient in 45 minutes from now, or maybe the next day. But you need to treat every visit as if your reception area is full,
right.
Because one day it's going to be full. And so you have to be efficient in checking the patient. You have to be efficient in adjusting. You have to be efficient in educating because that next room is full and so is your waiting room. You're just talking about the Seahawks all day because, you don't have another appointment 45 minutes. That's a bad habit to get into.
It is. And you know what happens in those situations? I mean, we all know, those great patients who are with you from the beginning end up leaving because they feel like, oh, well, he's so busy. He doesn't have any more time for me, and because people used to spend like 40 minutes or whatever, and you don't, that's a bad habit to get set up on, or they don't feel like they care. And, the interesting thing around that too, is that when you ask for referrals, because you'll say, I know you don't advertise, when you ask for referrals or you just share with whatever, people are going to go, man, I don't want to refer to doc. He's so busy as it is, doesn't even have time for me. I don't want to kill him, kind of thing. Right. And they're really looking out after you. They're not being selfish. They're looking out after you. It sets up a whole cadre of things, when we start doing what you said, taking all this time because it's for you. It's not for them. Right.
My favorite way of asking for referrals, and I think it was probably you. But this is my favorite way to ask for referrals. Is just like, has your kids been checked yet?
Yeah.
And then what happens? They look at it and they go, well, why? Bam. Yeah. That's one of those nuggets I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And then you have time to sit there and say, well, this is why your kids get checked. Do you want them to be in here at 35 like you are, suffering with this chronic stuff? And so, but that's it. So has your husband been checked? And you look at it and they go, no, really? Get him in here. It's effortless.
Yes.
It's effortless,
But you have to own it, and you do. I mean, listen, if you're driving an average of 50 patient visits a month in, new patients, and you're not advertising, you're not doing, you're not putting social media stuff out, you're not doing any of that stuff where you're offering and looking and there's something going on. That's working, obviously, right? And obviously, we both know it's chiropractic, but there's something behind it, your team and everything else that's there, if I was to ask you the 2 or 3 secrets around that, not secrets, but gems, nuggets around that, what would you say?
Okay, one of them would be if you are, trying to stuff people into the same program and they don't follow through because of either money or time, or just, hey, I feel fine now, I just don't have time. But they're going to go somewhere else when they have a problem again because they feel like they let you down, right? Yeah. They said they were going to do this and they didn't. So I always, because some patients, for whatever reason, say, hey, doc, I got to take time off. I can't really afford this family plan for a few months or whatever. I always make sure that if a patient exits care, that I'm cool with it. Yeah. And they know I'm cool with it. And I'm always there for them. Right. So the number of reacts I get in 35 years of practice, it's just like, I don't even need new patients.
Yeah. Yeah.
I get so many reacts. But if you have that kind of departure, then there's discomfort from them coming back. One. Number two, staff. All right. First thing I always tell a new staff member, which fortunately I rarely get because we have really good retention, is the healing doesn't start back in the adjusting room. The healing starts when that person opens the front door, because they've been being dumped on all day long by the world. Right. And if my staff doesn't make them feel like, oh my God, so-and-so's here,
yeah,
and it just light up, and just that greeting. And even when your reception area is full, is making sure you look up, you make eye contact and smile and like do this or a thumbs up, just something, and they open the door, even if you can't get there. That is so important to me. And then, like I said, the retention is you get good people, but nowadays, especially, you got to focus on retention, because people are really struggling getting good people.
Yeah.
And if you have good people, which you need to have good people, you better darn well do what it takes to retain them. And it's not just about money.
Yeah.
It's about appreciation. It's about being flexible if they're having issues. It's all about, you got good people. Don't just assume they're going to stick around. You got to make them want to stick around. And that's another thing that really, I think, helps with that patient retention, is people walk in and seeing those same smiling faces. They've built those relationships with over the years. It's the dog on the floor. It's the same faces at the front desk. And it's just, they just love being there. The little kids are going, and their mom's at home, and the kid says, I want to go see Bam Bam. They're like, oh, that's right, I got a chiropractic appointment. all of that stuff kind of together. But nowadays, if you've like our practice is pretty diverse. So I do have to interact with medical facilities now and then. And I tell you what, man, they're struggling. They're struggling with getting support staff. Yeah. And they're especially struggling with having competent support staff.
Right.
And you don't want your clinic to be in that position.
Yeah. No,
you
not at all.
You want to have competent, enthusiastic people that stick.
Yeah. And you know what? I think that's where people miss it. They're always looking to the outside, and chiropractic is always about the inside. And so they're always looking to the outside. Where's the next new patient coming from? How's it? Instead of saying, wait, take care of our home here, create this home that everyone's going to want to come into because they love it, and you keep that home like that, right? Where, retaining your employees and you're right, man. It's like, forget about the outside, it's all about the inside. Right. You get the inside working well, the outside's going to be fine,
Right.
Yeah, I love it. And I know you've had your people for a long time, and I'm not sure when you're ready to shut it down. I mean, you've been at it for how many, 30 something years,
That's probably gonna be my biggest challenge. Now Hayden's over in Idaho. So it's like, how do I just do this till I'm 100, or do I figure out?
Well, they can hire you, man. Listen, they can hire you. Grandpa can be there, and they can just kind of make that happen, and I got to tell you, man, as you know, and I'm sure our viewers know, that the more you love what you do, you do what you love, and it's like,
yes,
it's the hardest profession. I talk to so many other people who can't wait to retire, and, whether they're an engineer, whether they're whatever, college professor, whatever it might be, and to look for that life that they want, which is really admirable. And, it's like, how do we get out of what we do? We just love it so much that it's like what we do is not work, right?
If you spend 30 or 40 years like being a value add to the world, it kind of seems scary to me to just go to nothing after that and just like read books and watch Netflix.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm always going to have to figure out how to value add, and if I would love to be over there and, spell Hayden and Katie periodically, if I'm still able.
Dude, all they talk about to me is like they can't wait till they want to move you out there, have you be there, and and they're not doing it for the vacation, but they'd love to enjoy you. It's
I'm surprised they don't wake up one morning duct taped together and go, "Where the hell am I?" And they go, "You're in Idaho."
They came in the middle of the night, got you, pulled you out. I love it. Hey man, listen, it's been a blast, and I want to just end with one thing, because I think people need to understand this, that how you retain your people. I mean, you've got a really uber successful. We shared the numbers of what you do yearly, it just in business. I mean, people have a hard time fathoming these kind of numbers. But the other piece is that they go, oh my gosh, well, if you see him 50 visits a week, 50 new patients a month, then he must not be able to hold on to them and yada, yada. And I know, because I know your practice, your key is retention. It's about retention. Yeah. It's not about losing people. It's about having them stay with you, right? And be under chiropractic care the rest of their lives, And so just drop a nugget on that, and then we'll kind of wrap.
Well, because I've been in practice so long, and I'm always preaching, even with injury patients, I'm always preaching about essentially, you're going to be a chiropractic patient for life, right? We're going to get you through this injury, but then so as busy as we are, I mean, I don't know what percentage, and I should figure it out, but a ton of these people are maintenance people. Yeah. And that might mean once a week for them. It might mean twice, every 2 weeks. It might mean once a month. And so it's not like you need this revolving door of new patients because you have to have them on higher treatment plans, all this stuff, because half my practice is just maintenance people, people I've been taking care of for literally decades, decades. And it's that thing I talked about, how always, if someone does exit the practice for a little bit, it's always exited in a mutually, agreed upon way with love, and then I know they'll return.
That's right. That's right.
So I call that retention too. If I haven't seen somebody for 2 or 3 years and then they come back in, that's a retained patient, right?
Yeah. Yep. And I have to tell you, it's such a big lesson, Peter, because like a lot of people there's a lot of ways that people bring patients in. And nowadays, it's through social media, it's a huge way. And it's a great way, because it's not just to bring patients in, it's to educate people about chiropractic. But if people don't have the retention mechanism there, right. And that's not just the care you give, but it's how you care about them, that's to me, because that's all about how long, you'll walk out today and start adjusting people or checking people and say, hey man, how long, when'd you first come here? Why? You've been here how many years? What brought you in? And they'll have to sit and think. And I'll go, yeah, I think I had a fall or I had migraines or whatever it is, right? It's not even their consciousness. They're just it's just part of their life. And that's really what we're about, right? Chiropractic today, for a better world tomorrow, and having people stay subluxation free so they can express their optimal potential, It's beautiful, man. You're amazing.
And one of the biggest gifts you guys are giving these Life West kids is enthusiasm. It's so important. It's so important. And they're oozing it.
Yeah.
You can they're just chomping at the bit, and it shows.
Yeah. Well, hey, we're doing everything we can to have them come out really understanding, knowing, and the give, do, love, serve, like really just kind of putting that in their heart, and I think Hayden and Katie are a perfect expression of that. People take it for granted and think chiro kids like Hayden are just going to poof, and it ain't about that. It's about, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to make this happen, and just loving his way through it. Your son is the kind of guy, he'd spend all day digging someone out of the snow if he had to, just because that's just where his heart is, and that's what a servant is. Pete, thanks, man. It was great, man. I just love, number one, catching up to you, and that you're the reason that Mary and I got our dog Nico, that bull mastiff.
Yeah.
And she was part of our family for 14 years, every time we see a bull mastiff, we're just thinking about you. It's what's there. But I just really appreciate you. I appreciate all you've done in chiropractic, how you give to chiropractic, you support chiropractic, financially and in other ways. Man, you're the ultimate, you're the consummate pro, man. And thank you for all that you do and all that you're going to continue to do, as you mentor students or new doctors and the things that you do in your town. Certainly just really appreciate you, brother.
Well, I just want to throw it back at you as the busiest man in chiropractic that I know. That I can sit here in my practice in Lacey and do my part, but chiropractic needs Ron Obersteins, that are going out there and doing the mission trips and all that stuff. So I appreciate you so much for what you do.
Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure, man. I think I take that as a major compliment coming from you. So thanks, Pete. And to our guests, thank you. Week after week, you guys are coming back. You're watching these shows. You're doing, whatever you're doing with this. But I do know you're spreading these. And I tell you what, Peter Klein dropped a bunch of nuggets today. And there's a lot of people who could listen to, who could use hearing what he said. So just don't, please share this with others like you do in any ways. We drop these life voice leadership lines every other week. The opposite week, we do a Life by Life West. And, we just got some great things going on at the college. As Pete said, we're back on our service trips, making that happen. And, all over the place, the world is opening up and everywhere that we're going, we're making a difference and changing stuff just like you are. So keep loving those around you, hugging those people that and need hugs, and keep spreading the word and letting people know that their ability to heal is much more powerful than they were ever led to believe. Got it? Because it's just how we're going to start changing people. As Peter said, one person at a time, just giving the message. So from Dr. Pete and myself, we'll bid you goodbye.
One last thing. Give Mary a hug.
I will. I promise. I promise. And love and appreciate all of you. And we'll see you next time.